Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to make brownies. We're going to make two batches of brownies exactly the same, one minor difference. And the recipe itself I'm just going to kind of gloss through. It is a recipe we've done on the channel before. It's really not that difficult of a recipe, and it's not one of those brownie recipes, you know, that you have to let sit in the fridge for 72 hours or use multiple kinds of sugar in order to get a certain type of top on the brownie. Bog standard, really simple, easy to put together brownies. Brownies that Julie and I will make after supper. Get up from the supper table, one of us does the dishes, and the other one makes the brownies. So really simple. The purpose of this really is to make one with the salt that the recipe calls for, and one with MSG. I know to a lot of people, MSG is the devil. It is the worst thing out there ever that you could possibly use in your cooking. And other people like me, used in the right place, in the right amount, it's really good. So in these bowls, a couple of eggs and brown sugar, and we'll just whisk that together. So a couple of months ago, I did a video where I talked about, I was talking about MSG in some context, and I said, you know, MSG in baked goods is a great idea. In the right place, with the right things. And the right place and the right thing is often chocolate. Chocolate cakes, chocolate puddings, that sort of thing. I think MSG would work really well. Then, a couple of weeks ago, I'm watching the YouTubes like you do, and a really popular cooking channel has, Weissman. He's got Guga on and Uncle Roger. And they were doing taste-offs of the exact same recipes, one with MSG and one without, and which tastes better. And I watched it all, and I had opportunity missed. They didn't do a sweet. They didn't do a baked good, which, you know, kind of makes sense, because I don't think Uncle Roger or Guga are really known for their baking. And I thought, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this, make these brownies, try to do a blind tasting. It'll be a blind tasting for Julie. She won't know which is which. I'll probably, even though, you know, I mix them around, I'll probably know, because you know your own baking. What you're about to witness is a one-time thing. You're never going to see this ever again. I'm actually going to measure vanilla so that I get the exact same amount in each brownie. There we go. Okay. Bit of a whisk. Bit of a whisk. Now, I've got cake and pastry flour, baking powder, and salt in this one. Cake and pastry powder, baking powder, and MSG in this one. Cool Runnings MSG. Give it a little stir. Give it a little stir. There we go. Okay. Flour in and a little bit of a whisk. Julie makes this recipe fairly often after supper, and instead of adding MSG, she puts in a scoopful of Marmite. Pretty much exactly the same thing as adding some MSG. So I know I'm going to love it. I know that I'm going to love it. 2 cake tins, one marked MSG, and it's got a C47. This one is not MSG. So I'll get these into the oven. Oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The recipe says half an hour, 20 minutes. If you're new to baking, anytime you see a time in a cookbook for baking something, it's merely a suggestion. It is not the actual baking time. You should be coming back. This says 20 minutes. You should be coming back at 15 and looking at it, and then watching it carefully from that point forward. That is one of the biggest mistakes that new bakers make, is trusting or believing that the baking times in recipes are absolutes. They aren't. So into the oven. Okay, I realize that there's no there's no real way for me to do this as a blind tasting, but Julie won't know which is which. So I'm going to put the MSG brownie on this plate, and I've written MSG on the bottom. I'm going to put the non-MSG on this plate. I'm going to turn them around 4 or 5 times. I know this doesn't work. I'm going to leave the studio. Julie's going to come in. She's going to turn them around a few times. She won't know which is which. I'll come back in and we'll do a tasting. Okay, Jules.
Hi, friends. My instructions are to come in here and just turn these around a few times and then go and get Glen. And not to look. I don't know what that means, but I'm not looking. Glen! All right.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm supposed to now say hi, Glen.
Hey, Jules.
Hi, friends.
So this is the chocolate brownies recipe from the Black Book.
One of my favorites.
Yep. The Canadian Cookbook. This brownie has MSG. This brownie just has the regular salt from the
And
recipe.
now I know why you were making me switch them around. I mean, I was suspicious when I came in. You said, just move the plates around. And I saw the two.
Yep.
So we're comparing them.
We're comparing them.
Okay.
Which one do you want to start with?
The one on the left.
Okay. Give it a go.
No, it's a really good
That's a brownie.
recipe.
It's that halfway point between cakey and fudgy. It's kind of like the best of both.
And if you like it fudgy, you just kind of undercook it a little.
Don't eat it.
Oh, sorry.
Now we'll taste the second one.
Is that what the red wine's for? Is that to rinse my mouth?
Oh, maybe. It'll be okay. So, we go to lots of wine tastings, whiskey tastings, gin tastings, all of those things where you taste a flight. Never once in any of those tastings has the professional said, you need to cleanse your palate.
No.
And I've been to professional tastings where I've watched professional tasters taste stuff. They don't cleanse their palates. That was a good brownie. Okay.
That's a good recipe.
I don't want you to tell me which one you think the MSG is in. Just tell me which one you like better. Or maybe you don't taste the difference.
There's a subtle difference.
Very subtle. Yep.
There's a subtle difference.
Yep.
I think I know which one has the salt in it, but
Okay.
that being said,
The salt, the MSG, or the salt?
the salt.
The salt. Okay.
Straight up, straight out of the ground.
Salt.
Salt.
Windsor salt
One
from under the Great Lakes.
White crystal
Yep.
thing. The MSG has a slightly deeper flavor.
Okay. Which one do you think that is?
This is where I'm going to be totally embarrassed, aren't I?
No.
I think this one had the salt.
No.
Ah, so I like this. This one is, and then so this one I thought had the deeper flavor.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
Me either.
But this one does have the deeper flavor.
Yes.
So
Total-
the MSG didn't bring as much as I thought it might, right? Because I don't eat a lot of things that are like I don't do that kind of. I will fully admit that I've been putting Vegemite in this recently in lieu of salt,
And loving it.
right? And really liking it. And so I really like how that brought out the
that's a-
flavor.
that's
So
a-
when I tasted that deeper flavor, I thought, oh, it must be the thing I don't normally do, which is use direct MSG in my recipe.
So I was afraid to over MSG it because you can very easily over MSG
Totally
something.
picking at the little pieces.
So I put in the same amount of MSG as it called for salt.
Is that normally how you put it? Is MSG normally a 1-to-1? Oh, I've got
No,
chocolate everywhere.
not really. But I didn't want to overdo it.
Thank
so
you.
I was very careful. And I think that maybe it needs more MSG. Who knows? But it really didn't bring anything to it.
It was no different.
No. So I wonder if you really have to ramp up the MSG in order to get a difference in the flavor.
But then if you really ramp up the salt, you'll get a slightly different flavor too.
True.
Right? You and I tend to just salt at the minimal level. And, the more salt, it adds a different flavor to it.
Okay.
Interesting.
MSG brownies. It'll take a little bit more work to figure out what the right ratio of MSG is, or if MSG, even when you put in, a tablespoon of MSG, does it really do anything?
That being said, don't be afraid to add Vegemite instead.
Yes, Vegemite in this, about a tablespoon of Vegemite. I just scoop it. I don't know what you do.
I don't use quite a tablespoon, I don't think, but I don't know. I just scoop it. I don't measure. I'm
Yep.
too.
Okay. Do you bake with MSG? Let us know down below if you bake with MSG. Obviously, if you've made it to this point in the video, you have no problem with MSG.
And if you do, what is the ratio? Like if you're substituting,
yeah.
what do you do? Because
Yep.
we just went 1-to-1. Glen went 1-for-1.
Yep. Still trying to figure it out. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.